Welcome to Fox Valley today. I'm your host, Anne Vickery. Joining me today from the United Methodist Church of Plano, Pastor Steve Saunders. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Anne. Thank you.
Well, and thank you for coming over today. I know we were having just a great conversation before we came on air about all the different things going on in the world in Israel, and how, when you came to Plano and some of the activities that you've been involved in. But let's talk a little bit. Let's start this all out and give our folks a little bit history on you and how you ended up in Plano and with the United Methodist Church there.
Well, it's kind of a crazy story on how God works, Ann. I was a garbage man for 28 years before becoming a pastor. I received a call to follow Christ in my garbage truck, of all places. I saw a bumper sticker for a Christian radio station, tuned in, and right after that, I was behind a shopping center and prayed to receive Christ. And you fast forward to 2016, I ended a 28-year career in the garbage truck. The last 10 years to where I am now was preparing and studying and getting ready for this. And 2016, my wife Vicki and I had the privilege of being the pastor and the family at the United Methodist Church of Plano and Millbrook United Methodist Church.
Two great community churches.
Yeah.
I mean, that Plano Method, or the Millbrook Methodist Church. I'm from down around Manuka. That is just a church that has stood so strong and just continues on and on. I mean, the minister that just left there, he was at the Platteville Methodist Church too. I'm trying to think, ex-veteran. I can't think of his name.
Pastor Kent.
Pastor Kent Svensson.
Svensson.
He came on a number of times. And so you share both of those churches.
Yes.
You work both of them.
Yep.
And are you involved in their Millbrook Methodist men's breakfast that they do over there?
I'm there every breakfast.
Are you?
As long as I'm not on vacation, I'm there.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. Well, it's funny they've let you go even on vacation. They probably need you over there. So you have, through 28 years of working outside of the church, studied and got yourself involved and did all the preliminaries that are needed to become a minister with the United Methodist Church.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, so did you grow up around here?
No, I grew up in Downers Grove. I was born and raised in Downers Grove.
Okay.
My wife Vicki and I were married in '89. We spent some time in Bartlett, and then 23 years leading up to coming out here, we were in Plainfield. Raised our three boys in Plainfield, and then we sold our house in Plainfield, moved to Yorkville. My son at the time, my youngest son now is in the military, but at the time he worked in Shorewood, and my wife is still on staff at our old church, Wheatland Salem United Methodist Church.
Oh, okay, up there at 59.
Yeah, yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep, Book Road, 95th Street.
Okay, yeah.
So we kind of split the difference between Yorkville and Plano. So I got a little closer commute, and they had a little farther commute. But if we lived all the way in town, it would have been 45 to 50 minutes for them.
Right. And that's, it's not too bad of a thing shooting up 34 and around there,
No, I love my commute now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were with the Plano Methodist Church and the Millbrook Methodist Church. Tell us a little bit about your congregation. Have you got a real active congregation? Are you...
we both churches are really active locally and internationally. We do a lot of work with Millbrook does work with Hesed House. Both churches are involved with the Kendall County Community Food Pantry. United Methodist Church of Plano not only does stuff as a church, but there's an arm of the United Methodist Church called Tommy's Gift, which does a lot of work in the community of building ramps and decks for people in need. So, and also Operation Christmas Child. So at Christmas time, both churches are involved in serving the global community as well as our local community.
Right, so that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, you have some things coming up over the holidays.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about some other things here today, but I want to get out here for our listeners and our viewers, what's going on at the church that you think that people might just love to be a part of?
Well, first, December 9th, between 8:30 and 11 at the Plano Church, there'll be a candy and cookie walk. And that everyone's welcome to come. The donation is $7 per pound. I started thinking about it. Wow, if I get a pound of cookies for $7, yeah, that's not a bad deal. And then, Christmas isn't always a happy time for people. whether they've gone through a recent loss or they've been struggling with something. Sometimes the holidays are the worst time for people.
I agree.
So we decided to have something at the Plano church called the Advent Healing Service. And it's not like what you'd see on TV, the televangelist, where we're going to lay hands on people and they're going to fall down. It'll be more of a spiritual healing because it's hard to walk around happy when you're heartbroken or you're struggling in some way, or you've just lost a loved one. And so Christmas is completely different. And while everyone else has got their Christmas lights up and their happy face on, and you feel kind of alone, we want to bring those people in and remind them that the Christ child that came in the manger loves them and wants to comfort them. So December 14th, 7 o'clock at the Plano church will be our Advent Healing Circus. The public's welcome to come, and it's going to be a low-key. There'll be some scripture reading, some music. I'll have a really short message and to encourage us to be okay with not being okay at Christmas time.
I think that's a much bigger issue than people like to admit.
Sure.
A lot of us are products of how things were when we were kids, just because we always, I know, and I'm more than willing to share this with you. Christmas was not a happy time at where I grew up. My parents were good parents. They were good people. But we were always short on money.
Oh, sure.
And, with 6 kids in the 50s. And it was a very stressful time.
Sure.
And it always brought this whole thing where we got to bring this whole other part of the family together, which they had tensions.
Sure.
The tensions of my mother's family were kind of rolled over on everybody, and it always created this nail-biting moment of when are things going to explode?
And blow up.
And kids sense that. Kids just want to be happy.
Yeah, it's no fun.
They don't want to be in the drama.
Yeah.
So some of that is carried over on me. I have to tell you that.
Well, and that's kind of the hope. We want to be a part of, Jesus has called us to serve in many ways. And so this is one way we want to help people not get through another Christmas, but to really be healed through the season. So that next Christmas, you've taken that step of healing and letting some of that go and acknowledging, like we're doing now, acknowledging that, okay, it's an issue. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to put on this fake face, that I'm okay being who I am and not really getting into all the Christmas and the trappings of presents and the lights, that we can just be who we are, and we all heal in different ways.
Right.
We've had a lot of funerals since I've been at both churches.
Isn't that something?
And
is that just a case of an aging church, or is it kind of sporadic, all kinds of different deaths?
It's some of it is cancer. Some of it's cancer. Some of it is shocking. Some of it's age. Some of it is just, unfortunately, it's just part of life.
Life, yeah.
So there's members in our congregation who are going through their first or their second Christmas without a grandma and a grandpa, a spouse, a parent,
a child.
Sure, and some of them are right before Christmas. We have, we've got a funeral coming up this week. And it's, days before Christmas, and we put all this pressure on that one day.
Right.
And you know what? For some people, Christmas ain't that great.
No, it's not.
So our hope is that people can leave there with a little bit of hope and a little bit of healing, and knowing that someone understands where they're coming from.
Right. And to me, I shared a kind of in the big picture, it's nothing. It's like... It
sure.
is, but it does it creates a pall. You always created a pall, but there are so many people that are so worse off.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, the loss, the fact that maybe families are really having a hard time even putting a decent meal on the table, a loss of a job. Loss is loss.
Right.
And they will tell you if you take a hospice course, when you start talking about loss, whether it's the loss of in death, divorce, a job, a loving relationship.
Grief comes in all manner, doesn't it?
It does. It really, really does.
Yeah.
So this service is to try to lift people up and let them know What is your message?
Well, first of all, we want to let them know that the church is the place to come for healing. Unfortunately, we get labeled as people who judge. So we want to make people welcome. They can come to church however they want. December 14th, you come however you feel. We don't expect people to be happy. We want people to come in and know that Christmas time is not necessarily a time to be happy, but it's a time to remember that God came in the manger. He walked among us, and he knows exactly how you feel. He knows Jesus knew what it meant to be sad. He stood at Lazarus' tomb and wept. So the Savior knows how people feel, and we want them to know that he loves them no matter what, and he'll be there to carry them through the grief. All of us grieve differently. All of us deal with our past memories differently, and bad memories of Christmas. Or sometimes we had great memories of Christmas, but our tradition's gone for one reason or another.
Right. And a lot of tradition is left because families have moved away.
Sure.
Families become dysfunctional because of addiction, divorce. I mean, things happen.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah. Right.
It really is.
So we want people to understand that, number one, Jesus loves them unconditionally. Number two, that regardless of what anybody says, you don't have to be fake at Christmas time. We're not talking about people who need to see a doctor or clinically depressed. We're talking about people who are blue or downtrodden because everyone else around them is happy and they just can't get themselves there. And they need to know it's okay to not be okay at Christmas time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of stress, obviously, is put on women. Women are the ones who have to decorate, do the baking, make sure that all things are in place to make sure it all works. I think there's a tremendous stress on women for Christmas.
Yeah, and then what happens when you just don't have the energy to get out of bed? When you
were so sad.
Yeah, you remember making cookies with your grandkids or your grandma, and you're at a place now where it's just not like that anymore, and you just don't have what it takes to do it.
I shared with you a little bit about Christmas, but a lot of people are tomorrow people. They try not to look back on some of that.
Sure.
But sometimes those feelings, and I'm a tomorrow person.
They come up.
Ask me what I did yesterday. I have no idea because I'm more worried about today and tomorrow.
Sure.
Forget about yesterday.
Right.
But I mean, just kind of bringing back some of those things that have happened to people.
It does.
Yeah.
They come back. We try to stuff and cover, and sometimes we're successful, but there's always something there that will bring it out. Something, and Christmas time is usually that time.
Right, it is.
And we need to acknowledge it, and the church needs to be there to embrace people who are hurting.
So let's kind of move on from there, so we don't depress too many people.
Yeah.
But you have also worked with the Millbrook. Oh, slap me! The Millbrook Methodist Church. Tell us what you're doing over there.
Yeah, Millbrook is a great place. It's a beautiful little church on the hill. It's in a great community. Vicki and I have been blessed to be part of the church community there. And I'll tell you what, Millbrook United Methodist Church is like the old school way. Everything around there happens at the church. We have bluegrass once a month on Saturday nights. We have the monthly men's breakfast. They have the harvest breakfast. Let me tell you, Millbrook United Methodist Church knows how to serve people and eat.
That's right.
We celebrate. But the cool thing is that, 100 years ago, the church was the pinnacle. The town meetings were held there. The city functions were held there. Celebrations were held there. And Millbrook does a great job of bringing the community in from Newark, from Plano, from Millbrook, and surrounding areas. And they make it the pinnacle, the gathering place. It's not just for Sunday morning. We're not called to be Sunday morning people. We're called to be people of God all the time, every day.
Every day.
And so they open up the church. They open up the doors of the church, and the bluegrass thing was in place long before I got there. And they have 60 or 70 people come in once a month for chili and some really cool bluegrass music.
Yeah, yeah, and Pastor Kent, the former minister, he kind of got that going. I think he still comes down for that, doesn't he?
I'm not sure, but I know he has the gift of music and song, and you know the churches got shortchanged when they got me. Because I don't sing, dance, or play any instruments.
But you show up.
I can preach. I can preach and throw garbage, but singing and playing that's not my gift.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what else have you got going on over there? Both of those churches that are coming up.
So Christmas Eve, we have the regular 9 o'clock in the morning worship service at Millbrook. Then we'll be back there at 5 p.m. for the traditional Christmas Eve evening service. Mm-hmm. Plano, the regular church service is at 10:30. We'll have the regular church service then, and then we'll be back at 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. at the Plano Church for Christmas Eve service.
Christmas Eve and the candle lighting service, right?
Communion at both locations for every service.
Well, that's and those small churches do it beautifully.
Oh, it's fun.
It really is, because people are just so grateful and happy to still get to go into that church and celebrate that moment of knowing of Christ's birth, of remembering, which as you say, we should remember it every day. But there's just something so great about that.
Life kind of gets in the way of.
Yeah, it does.
It really is a beautiful time of the year. It's a little odd because we don't have any snow on the ground, and the temperatures have been good. But the fact is that God came down in flesh in a crazy manner. As a little baby, the King came as a baby, but our hope is in that King, because really our focus now is towards Easter and Christ's second advent.
That's right. Yeah, right. The Advent, the coming.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so isn't that the Latin ad as in come? Isn't that kind of the Latin
if you say
thing?
so, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
See, now you're throwing me under the bus.
Okay,
Anne.
I don't know. There's just something there about that.
No, Advent does mean the coming. Yes, it
okay.
does.
Well, I mean, there's some Latin connection there, too.
I'm not sure about the Latin part.
Well, yeah, there is.
See, you know more than me, Anne. Nice job.
Hey, call me if you need me. Hey, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to be right back with Pastor Steve Saunders from the Plano Methodist Church and the Millbrook Methodist Church. And we're going to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about this little business going on in Israel right now, about changing the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I think people sometimes need a little bit of a history lesson, and you're just the man to give it to them.
Very good.
We'll be right back. Stick with Fox Valley Today. We'll see you in a minute.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to Fox Valley Today. I'm here with Pastor Steve Saunders, who is the minister and pastor at both the Plano Methodist Church and the Millbrook Methodist Church. I want to talk just a little bit about the survival of these small churches, and then we're going to move on to something a little more political.
Sure.
These churches are strong. The people continue to really support this.
You know, both congregations are over 160 years old. They were planted about the same time. Millbrook, I believe, started in 1857. Plano Church was planted, I think, in 1856. And we follow a legacy of followers of Jesus Christ who said, we're going to drive a stake in the ground, and we want a legacy for our posterity that there will be outposts for Christ in these locations. And it's by strong followers that we're able to still be there. So there's a core of people, a year in, year out, decade in, decade out, that say, you know, we're going to do what we can do to make sure that the doors of this church stay open.
You know, in the Methodist Church especially, even more so than the Lutheran churches, who were really more Scandinavian and were developed on circuit riders.
Yes, they were.
You know?
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
Well, and that's kind of, I'm the pastor of two churches, is kind of a throwback to
circuit riders.
Yeah. In fact, there's another pastor in our area who has 4 churches. And that's how they did it.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a little history there for these smaller churches. Now let's talk a little bit about the news yesterday.
Yeah.
That came out from Washington that the president has decided to take the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv and put it in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Which has caused kind of an uproar.
Sure.
Which is causing a travel warning, not a ban, but a warning to United States citizens who may be traveling to Israel.
Yeah.
Because they expect things to start cooking up. Give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of history of what that's all about.
Well, I'm not a history professor, but here's my take. Here's what I think is going on. One of the ways I believe the United States government is saying that we are going to be with Israel. We are going to support Israel. We are going to be a part of their protection, their friend, their ally. And one of the ways that we would do that is for the United States government to put our embassy in the holy city. And if anybody has any kind of history lesson at all, they know that Jerusalem is the hot topic for people outside Israel. The Bible speaks a lot about Jerusalem, and it will be a tinderbox. But our government is saying that look, we are acknowledging that Israel is a state, that Israel should be a state, and that Jerusalem should be its capital. Therefore, we're going to, by this move, this statement, saying to the whole world that this is what we believe. Which the reason now causes a problem is because many people that surround Israel refuse to acknowledge Israel as a state, and they refuse to acknowledge Jerusalem as its capital.
Okay.
So that's where the problem comes in. So now our government is saying that wherever you live around that area, we are not going to acknowledge anywhere as our embassy as an important part of the Israeli community anywhere else but Jerusalem.
Okay. And I think people are kind of wondering about that because everybody doesn't know about the actual conflict or understand the complete conflict that has gone on the West Bank.
Yeah.
And which Tel Aviv is on the West Bank.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be interesting to see kind of how, and if this really does happen in the near future. But
it'll be a big task. I mean,
yeah.
there's a whole lot there to actually move our embassy, into Jerusalem. There's a lot of logistics there that are going to be difficult.
Right.
But even the talk about that says something to Jewish Americans and the Israelis at this time.
To the world.
To the world,
yes.
That the United States government is not saying that Israel is perfect, but we're saying that, we're acknowledging that it's their city.
Yeah. Now I wonder, Benjamin Netanyahu has not necessarily been best friends with our president. They have their own issues.
Yes, they do.
So, but I have yet to have heard what he has had to say about this.
I haven't either. Yeah, but Benjamin Netanyahu takes a lot of heat because he's a bold speaker.
Yes, he is.
And he has not been afraid when he stands in front of the UN to proclaim the attacks against his country and some of the statements made about or against his country from terrorist organizations. So while I think that they may have their own issues, I would imagine, now not ever being able to speak to Benjamin Netanyahu, my guess would be that this would have been an appreciated move of our government to say, look, we're going to be so in with you that we're going to move our embassy to a really troubled place. Not financially troubled, but there's a spiritual, this conflict's been going on for thousands of years.
Right. Explain to people exactly what they mean by the West Bank.
Well, the West Bank being close to a lot of Israel's enemies, it has been a disputed part of the land for years. Right. God gave a huge swath of land to the people of Abraham as a covenant. This was a promise. Now,
the promised land.
Correct. Yeah, it didn't mean just Jerusalem. It meant everywhere. And when you read the biblical account, it's a lot bigger than where Israel is now. So for decades, there's been this moving of borders.
And they want to continue to squeeze.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, and you've heard statements as well as I have where they want to push Israel into the sea. They want to obliterate Israel. They want to wipe Israel off the map. So there's a voice of tension and anger towards the whole nation, but it centers around Jerusalem. And what a lot of people don't realize, again, we're not saying, we had this discussion before we went on air, we're not saying that Israel and its leaders are perfect, that they don't own some of their own problems. However, what many don't know is that on a daily basis, there are rockets and bombs fired into Israel all the time. That just happens so often, they're never covered.
Right.
And that's part of this whole issue here. And it's been a struggle for thousands of years.
It has been. And it probably is going to get a little bit worse before it gets better.
Yes, probably will.
Right. And I anticipate, as just an American citizen who, like many, have sat back and watched their wars that pop up every once in a while and very violent, usually don't last that long, but it destroys so many people's faith in what's going on. So anyway, let's kind of go back a little bit and cover, we just got a couple of minutes left. December 9th is your...
the Cookie and Candy Walk, 8:30 to 11 at the Plano Church.
Okay, and that's a Saturday?
That is Saturday, yep,
Saturday
December
morning,
8th.
8:30 in the morning till 11.
December 9th.
Or December 9th, and people have baked and made fudge and peanut brittle and all that.
It's all coming.
All right.
It's not there yet, but it's coming.
But it's coming, and so somebody could come over there and they could spend $28 and walk home and gain 12 pounds.
Very easily.
By the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have your Advent healing service coming up December 14th.
Yes, at 7 o'clock at night at the Plano Church as well.
Okay.
And that'll be a time for us to gather, and it'll be not a somber, but it'll be a quiet service where we're able to bring some, hopefully, healing to some people who struggle at the holiday time.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. And let's just run over quickly the times of your services for Christmas Eve.
Okay, Christmas Eve at Millbrook will be our regular 9 a.m. worship service. Then we'll be back at Millbrook at 5 p.m. for a traditional Christmas Eve service. The Plano Church Christmas Eve will be 10:30 in the morning. Then we'll be back at 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. for the traditional candle lighting and communion.
Well, people have a lot to look forward to in this community.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you very much, Pastor Steve, for
You're
coming
welcome.
over
And
today.
It was great to be with you.
And if you'd
Thanks.
like to listen to a little bit more of what our presentation is, join us on 107.1 WSPY. We're going to be on in about 15 minutes, and we'll see you there. Thanks for listening.